Hey everybody, a little something different for you today. If you got a Whirlpool Cabrio dryer and you want to learn how to replace the thermal fuse, you've come to the right place. If you're here to watch more restoration videos for my Triumph Spitfire, you're going to have to wait a couple more days. Hello everybody, I'm going to make a real quick video on replacing the dryer thermal fuse. This is a Whirlpool Cabrio. If you want to know what your model number is, open the door to see if this applies. This particular model number is right here, not real easy to see, but it's WED 5600 XW0. Like with many things with these appliances these days especially, I'm sure this thermal fuse replacement will work in several dryers along the Whirlpool and Kenmore. All sorts of different brands use essentially the same general design, but here is the thermal fuse right here. This is part number 3392519. I picked this up on Amazon and it was a couple bucks as a part of a kit with other stuff. I'll send a link in the description so you can find out for yourself. Fortunately, this is a very easy replacement. You only need a flathead screwdriver, and I'm using a 1/4 inch drive ratchet with a 1/4 inch socket on it. So I'll show you how to get the bottom door out, get to this fuse, replace it, test it to see if it was what's wrong, and move on. So the symptoms that I have right now is you can see the dryer is powered on, but when I press the start button, nothing happens. So the dryer clicks, wants to go, but it doesn't go. So the thermal fuse is there to protect the dryer from overheating. This dryer has a problem, or had a problem with its heater coil that grounded out, and it turned on and stayed on, and no matter what it would do, it would not turn it off. Dryer got too hot. The thermal fuse melts inside there and cuts the circuit out to the motor and turns the dryer off so that you don't have a fire in your house. So very important, obviously, but after it blows, you have to replace it. It does not reset. So I'm going to go through that replacement. All right, so before we do any work, turn the dryer off. Back here, it's 240 volt power. You want to unplug that. This is not standard regular 120 volt power that's in your house. This is 240. This stuff will blow your hand off and will cause a lot of pain. So just please make sure that you unplug the machine prior to doing any work on inside here. These wires that are in here are live, and some of them have 240 volts on it. So please be careful. You got a danger sign right there, but please be careful. So this is the bottom access door here, and behind here there's all sorts of good stuff I'll show you here in a second when we get it open. It's a little tricky to get inside of here, and you can't really see them, and I'll show them to you closer when I get it off. But under here are little tabs, and I'm going to go in and put the flathead screwdriver in the tab, and each one is about 3 or 4 inches from the corner, same place on both sides, just at the top. You'll stick the flathead screwdriver up towards the top portion, and then you kind of bend down on the tab, and it's spring loaded, and it releases that portion of the door, and then you can pry this portion of the door off and then pry the other portion of the door off. So again, when I get this off, it's a little oddly designed, might not be what you think. I'll show you more in a close-up. Alright, and you probably will scratch the paint a little bit, but if you can see here, these little spring-loaded clips, what I'm doing is sticking the screwdriver in. Let me get this off of here. Sticking the screwdriver in and pressing down on this, and that releases the tension on there and allows you to pop it out. And there's just 2 little tabs here and here, little slots in the bottom of the door. And when the door goes on, kind of fits underneath this silver piece and just sits in there like that. So that door can stay there, or I pull it out of the way because it does get in my way. So the thermal fuse is located behind this. This is ducting for the heating element. The heating element is right there, that guy behind this cage, and that back there. So anyway, like I said, this ducting needs to come off to get access to this. You've got a bolt there, 1/4 inch nut there, 1/4 inch sheet metal screw there, guy down there, and a guy right there. So we'll go ahead, we'll take those off real quick. Alright, those 4 screws are loose. Now one thing that I did forget that you do have to do is the lint trap that's in there, that has to come out. And you can see when you pull it out and loosen up all the screws first, the thing falls right out. The limb trap fits down into here, and it will prevent you from pulling that out. Also take note that there's like a foam sealer here in various places on this stuff. You want to just keep an eye on that and make sure it's not getting pinched or torn or anything like that. I'm not incredibly concerned with it, but you just want to try to take care of it and not unnecessarily damage it. Now you also want to do a quick run over of everything in here. Now, I've been here before and I cleaned this up, but this was completely covered in dust and lint and everything in the bottom of it here when I first took it apart. So right there, that guy right there, that's the thermal fuse. There's another thermistor in there. There's a couple other pieces in here that I got as part of this kit. You also have this little covering here just to prevent some damage or to remove heat or something like that. I'm not quite sure why that's there. But the thermal fuse only has 2 wires on it and 1 little screw. Like I said, this is very straightforward. Again, it's a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen up that 1/4 inch and pull the thermal fuse out. Alright, so the thermal fuse is loose. I'm going to remove it from the wires. Now these wires are not real important the way they go together because it's just a fuse. You don't have to remember right side or left side or anything. It'll work either way. So there's the fuse. Oops, sorry, there's the fuse, and I'll show you how you test it. Alright, got it. So I have a simple multimeter here, and I have it set to measure resistance or measure ohms. And all I'm going to do is measure the resistance across the 2 terminals of the fuse. So I've got the fuse here. I got the 2 metal terminals on there. I'm just going to stick 1 probe on either end, the black and the red. And you would expect it in a good fuse for you to read 0 ohms or a short. This multimeter will also beep at you. So I'll turn that on. And I expect now, because it's blown, that I'm going to get an open or an OOL. You can see that means overload in the meter. So now it's not doing anything, it's not moving. That tells me that this fuse is definitely blown, and then this did its job to prevent the fire and opened up and turned the motor off. I'll get the new fuse now and test that and show you how that will read. Alright, so we got the new fuse here. Same thing, hook up either side. You can hear, you'll be able to hear and watch the ohm meter now, the multimeter indicate. Alright, so you hear the buzz and you see it says 0 ohms or 0.1 ohms. That means that that's a short. So that fuse is good. I'll put that back in. Reassembly is the exact opposite of removal. Point out one more thing to you here. If you can kind of see, it's a little difficult to see. There is a little notch in the bottom of the fuse here, and it fits into there. There's a little cutout on this tubing over here, and you want that notch. You want the metal sheeting of the tube to fit into that notch so that you can't pull this fuse out. So when you slide it in, you want to slide it in this end first so it kind of locks into the metal there and sits in between the metal so that it doesn't come out on you. Alright, so I put the thing in there. I can feel that it's locked in. Try to take it out on that loose end. It's not coming out. Put the 1/4 inch metal screw back in. Tighten that down. None of these have to be incredibly tight. You'll just hook the 2 wires back up. Alright, that's hooked back up. Now I'll put the tubing back on, or the shroud back on. Again, watching I don't mess up any of the foam padding if I can help it. Alright, so that's in and tight. Now you just take the door here, and again make sure that it's the bottom of the door is underneath this metal piece and still on those 2 clips down at the bottom. Push it in and just kind of give it a quick little punch and it clicks in. Alright, plug the dryer back in. Watch you don't put your fingers on the metal as you're plugging it back in, that'd get you too. Alright, turn the dryer on. Into normal, we'll hit the start button, it should start. And there you go. And that's just about a real-time video. It only took me about 15 minutes to replace that whole thing. Depending on where you purchase the thermal fuses, they can run you anywhere from a couple bucks to $15. But a very easy replacement. But again, it's a protective device, so that fuse will not normally blow unless something else is broken. So if this is the first time that you're doing this and you haven't tested any other component, you might be making a mistake because something is causing the dryer to overheat. But if that is what you need to replace, you can tell it's not very hard to do. I hope you enjoyed the video and hope it was helpful. Thanks a lot for watching.